Are you an agent or team looking for real strategy to grow your business? Today, I'm joined by Joshua Smith, GSD Mode. Licensed since 2005, Josh has sold more than 7,000 homes and has led teams closing 60 plus deals a month and has trained more than 5,000 agents. Now, he's built multiple seven-figure businesses and has coached at the highest level. What I respect most about Josh is this. He doesn't teach hype. He teaches systems, discipline, and execution that actually produce results. Now, if you care about building something real and sustainable in this business, you're going to want to pay attention. Let's dive in. Hey, Josh, welcome to the show. And thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's an absolute honor. I'm excited to be here and excited to have hopefully a powerful, effective conversation here.
Definitely. With so many accolades to your backing, can you just help me time travel along with you? Where did you get started and what brought you to this point? And then if you can share perspectives, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, so I've been doing this 21 years now. So I got started in 2005 at 23 years old. And what led me into the business is, I never thought this would be a 21-year journey for me. I grew up in the health and fitness industry. My dad owned health clubs for 30 years, and I always wanted to own a health club. But at 23 years, my dad had retired, sold his facilities, retired like right when I was senior year of high school. So I went on to work for other gyms and, other companies out there. But at the age of 23, I quickly realized that the only way I'm going to ever be able to support a future family and the way I want to support them is to get into ownership. So it was going to cost 800 grand to open up the facility I wanted to open up. I'm 23 years old, no college degree, didn't have much money in the bank. Like nobody's going to give me a loan. So I just started looking at, okay, like what are ways that I could go raise the capital? Well, the perception, at least for a lot of people outside of real estate, is all these real estate agents make all this money. So I'm like, all right, man, like I love sales. I love people. I'm a workhorse. I'm a hard worker. Let me jump into real estate, go out there and at least save up enough for a down payment and then jump back into the health and fitness business. And, I would say that health and fitness, quickly became my passion, where real estate became my obsession. I just fell in love with this industry at such a high level. So I jumped in 48 deals my first year, 103 my second year. That led to me starting my team, since of, sold well over 7,000 homes. And then I've worn different hats in the industry from, individual realtor, team leader, owning brokerages, as well. And I get asked all the time of how did you create so much success out of the gate? And there's really two components to it. Number one, I had my why. Like if we're not clear on what is that we want it, why it's important to us, like why are we doing this in the first place? I've never seen anybody create any element of success in any aspect of life that didn't have clarity on their why first. Then from there, I knew that, look, at 23 years old, I had very little life experience, zero real estate experience. I'd always been a W-2 employee, so I knew I needed help. So while I was in real estate school, I'm interviewing every top producer in my market that would give me the opportunity to sit down with them. And then I spent a lot of time before I got licensed interviewing brokerages. And I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to go with, whoever is the most successful, biggest badass that I can find that I want to emulate their success. That's who I'm going to sign on the dotted line with. And I found him. One of the top, realtors, team leaders in the country, also owned the brokerage. So I didn't have to join his team, but I could, line at his brokerage where he's, making money off me. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. He gave me the roadmap. All I had to do was execute like crazy on it, which I did, working, grinding 7 days a week, to create that, but those were kind of the two ingredients that, allowed me to kind of propel this quicker than most.
Got it. Got it. Wow. So thanks for sharing that journey. And so let me ask you this question because mindset is important all the way through. So what were you thinking and what was your long-term vision, if you will?
Yeah. So, and I would agree with you that at least in my opinion, my experience, mindset's 90% of this game. Yeah, strategy, skill set, all those things matter. But if we can't control this up here, none of this other stuff matters. And initially, like I mentioned, okay, it was, hey, I need to go as hard at this as quickly as I possibly could because I knew how much money I needed to make to go start this, this health club facility. So I had a timeline. I had to operate with urgency. With these different things. That is what created, the why with it. And that was the vision initially. But then, like I said, I fell in love with this industry, after my first year. Then again, it was health and fitness switched from my obsession to becoming a passion, and real estate became my new obsession. The reason being is I've never seen a vehicle like this in my life where if you're truly committed, that you can go from being a nobody financially, or even a nobody. I mean, just we could, like me and my 23 years old, I was kind of a loser, to within 6 months making more than doctors and attorneys. Real estate's the most level playing field that I've ever seen of any other industry out there. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're tall, short, good looking, not good looking, thin, overweight, how thick your accent is. Like, nothing matters. All that matters is how bad do you want this? So I've never seen an industry that can change your life and turn your life around so quickly for those that are truly committed. I know that the vast majority in this industry, struggle, but again, I would say that that's a mindset issue, and I found that there's three imperative mindsets, AKA, philosophies that we have to abide by to create success in real estate. Now, and I can unpack this further if you want me to, but again, I'll kind of circle back to the why. Like we've got to know what we're doing, why, what we want, why we want it, why it's important to us. Because the reality is this, is if the pain of not accomplishing anything, even the thought of not accomplishing anything, the pain of that must be more painful than the pain of what we have to go through to make the thing that we want a reality. I mean, so many people jump into, in just all aspects of life. I truly believe that the number one most dangerous addiction that the vast majority of humanity struggles with now is the addiction of complacency. They just expect things to be easy. No, dude, like success is hard, and I don't care what it is, right? Whether it's, health and fitness, whether it's real estate, like whatever, like, dude, it's hard. It is hard work. You're going to experience pain. You just got to pick and choose what pain you'd rather experience, the pain of being broke, struggling, or the pain of going out there and creating success, but I found that until we have that element of clarity and get ourselves there, then most aren't willing to go through the pain that we have to go through, to create success in real estate. Then from there, kind of getting more tactical with mindset. So like number one, having the mindset that there is no such thing as a good market, no such thing as a bad market. Real estate market's always good for somebody. Having the ability to identify whom your market is good for, pivot, shift, adapt accordingly. And the reason why I talk about this mindset being so imperative, I'll just give a couple examples. Okay, great financial crisis hit. So I'm in the market 2005, is when I entered. 2005 was very similar to 2021 for anybody that's watching or listening that wasn't in the market at that time. I mean, multiple offers. It was the biggest real estate boom as a country we'd ever seen, up to that time. But it was followed very quickly by the great financial crisis.
Right.
I had so many real estate agents that I became friends with that were like, "Oh, Josh, I'm having to get out of the business, go get a job because of the market."
Mm.
Right? That is a victim mindset. Like you and I, we can't control the market. We can't control interest rates. We can't control it's a buyer's market, seller's market. And remember, it doesn't matter what the market is doing. The real estate market's always good for somebody at the highest levels of real estate professionals. It's our job to identify whom the market is good for, pivot, shift, adapt accordingly. So like, okay, I did very well during the great financial crisis, but I had to identify whom was the market was good for, meaning where was the opportunities at? Okay. Like it went from, a lot of traditional business, working open houses, expireds at that time, to switching into going after short sales, getting with banks for listing, foreclosure REOs, so the market's always good for, so that's kind of mindset, mental philosophy, number one. Number two is, the committed mindset, just that deep understanding that success is only reserved for those of us that are truly committed. The vast majority are just interested, right? Like meaning, okay, I'll do the work when it serves me. I'll do it. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this, Ravi, with talking with others, or maybe we've experienced it yourself. I know I have, but it's like, like you do it when you're waiting to get motivated to take the action.
Right.
Well, it's like, man, more often than not, I'm not motivated. Doesn't matter whether you're motivated, whether you're tired, whether you're, whatever. It's like, here's the necessary actions that you got to do every day, every single week. And when I say committed, it's like, okay, doing the necessary actions that you need to do regardless of your emotional state. Because success is only reserved for those that are committed. And if you can't get yourself into that committed mindset, like, okay, like, oh, man, I don't feel, because we all have that internal self-talk. Oh, I don't feel like doing this today. I'm not feeling good. I'm kind of down, whatever. And I have those thoughts all the time too. I have to remind myself, nope, I'm somebody that's committed. Success is only reserved for those that are committed. I need to take these actions, and I am somebody that takes these actions regardless of my emotional state. Because who makes emotional, operates off emotions? Toddlers.
Right.
Okay, if you want a mature adult business, you can't operate like a toddler.
Exactly.
Right? You can't, you control the actions. You can't let your emotions control you. And then from there, kind of the third component to it is, when it comes to mindset is really a environment. Like making sure that you're very selective on what your eyes are seeing, what your ears are listening to, the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Like we look at right now, the market that we're in today, probably the most challenging real estate market that I've ever witnessed. And anybody that knows ever witnessed doesn't mean I mean, my business is still growing, right? But I've never seen so many struggle in this industry at the level that they're struggling today.
Mm.
But hey, man, I surround myself with those that are winning right now. So like when I'm hanging out with my real estate friends and the groups that I'm in, and we're, there is no, oh, this market, my business is down, all, they're not just whining, bitching, complaining. It's like they're freaking winning, and we're discussing how things are winning. And this is just, Jim Rohn's favorite quote, but you're an average of the five people that you spend most time with. So being intentional to get around winners because the conversation's different at those tables. But then from there, it's not just the people that you're around, but I'm very conscious of, okay, like what are my social media feeds feed my mind,
Mhm.
right? Like for me, I'm only following, and I coach and train the algorithm to show me what I want to show versus it doing it to me. So like you go into my social media feeds, man, it's nothing but motivation, inspiration, people crushing it, people kicking ass, whether it be health and fitness, business, all the things I'm passionate about, but like example, like I don't watch the news, right? Like, dude, it depresses me, gets me down. I don't need that shit in my world.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? One of my mentors always says that you can't control the world, or you can't change the world, but you can change your world.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's lots of ugly, nasty things that take place out there. I can't control that. But there's also a lot of beauty. There's also a lot of, amazing opportunities. Okay, I can control those things, at least for me in my life. So like I can't change the world, but I can definitely change mine. So I'm going to stay laser focused on impacting my own.
Definitely. I mean, so many nuggets there that you shared. And it's, as you said, mindset is 90% of this game as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Plus, your environment lifts you up or just pulls you down because every interaction, everything that you feed into your mind is building your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
That's what is going to be a blueprint in life. Absolutely said and well articulated. Thank you for the nuggets as well, by the way.
Yeah.
S-
100%.
So, you started, you just had, it was not like a bed of roses. You had challenges and you learned your way through, and then how to deal with it and how to cope with stress, as well as grow as a rock solid mindset. So, what does your journey look like, and what does fulfillment mean to Joshua Smith?
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time with this just because, before I got into real estate, um, and one of the things that led me to getting into real estate, was I was very depressed. Like to the point where I'm having daily suicidal thoughts and, lowest moment planning out my suicide. And, honestly, it scared the living hell out of me that I let myself get to that low of a moment, in my early 20s. So then I'm like, okay, if I'm serious about this and turn around my situation, then like I gotta have a plan, and I'm like, okay, what's like if I never want to experience this type of internal pain, this type of deep depression, doesn't mean since then I haven't had times where I'm feeling depressed, but there's a difference between kind of being down and feeling depressed versus like deep depression, where you just get no enjoyment out of any aspect of life anymore. I'm like, hey, I need to make sure I never get to this dark place again. So then what's the opposite of depression? Fulfillment.
Mhm.
And at the time, I couldn't figure out what made me fulfilled. And I still don't know if I truly know. You know, um, but where I started with, I always tell people if you can't figure out what you want, like, okay, what would make me fulfilled? What would make me truly happy? I didn't know. But then I looked at, okay, what are the areas of my life that I can't stand that I think if I could get these areas turned around in my life, um, I think it would help. So at that time going through my depression, I always was in good shape, like, as a kid, athlete, competed in bodybuilding in high school. And, but then when I went through that depression in my early 20s, I let my health go, allowed myself to get up to almost 300 pounds, became morbidly obese. I'm like, okay, I'm absolutely fed up and sick and tired with my body, the way that I feel, having no energy, looking for every excuse that I possibly could when friends were wanting to go to pool parties or the beach to not have to go because I was so embarrassed to take my shirt off. And, so I'm like, okay, if I can get back on the health journey, lose this 100 pounds, get back into great shape, I think that that will help. Then from there, I'm like, okay, if I can figure out how to make more than $10 an hour and being broke is a joke, I think that that will help. So I went to work on those two things, got my health and fitness back, right? Then led me to getting back into sales, back in the health club business. That then led me to getting into real estate because, like I said, I started focusing on, okay, let me get myself financially. I mean, I knew that ultimately money doesn't buy happiness, but at least what I've discovered is there's a minimum amount of money that we need to make to experience happiness. And I've made it, I've lost it, I've made it, I've lost it, right? So I mean, I've lived in extremes, grew up in poverty, so it's very hard to experience, I mean, even, fun situations, birthday, like with your kids, or any aspect of life, when you are stressed and can't sleep at night because you don't even know how you're going to make this month's mortgage payment. You don't even know how you're going to put food on the table. I mean, there is a certain amount of money that you need to be making to just experience, at least for me, happiness in life. So those are the two areas that I started. Then from there I went to, down journeys. I mean, I spent a lot of time trying to get clarity. A mistake that I made is adopting other people's goals for my own that really didn't matter to me.
Mm.
You know, um, just because they're things that my mentors accomplished or people that I look up to accomplish, or, like at one point in time, like on my vision board was always having my own plane.
Mm.
Then I got to a point where, okay, hey, I think I can afford this now. So let me go out there and start looking at this. I'm like, do I get my own pilot license? Do I hire a pilot? Start looking at all of this. But then I start breaking it down and I'm like, okay, well, where am I going to go? And then I'm like, dude, I don't even like to travel. Like all the things that I like do, like my whole life is in 3 mile radius. All the things I enjoy doing are right here. I really don't like to travel. So then I'm like, I just spent, several years of my life going after this goal that wasn't important to me just because, people I look up to and mentors, had their own private planes.
Mm.
So then, that was a lesson that I learned of, okay, like, dude, not letting society dictate what our goals should be for us, but spending that time in solitude to really do that deep work of like, what is it that you want? Look, I'm a believer, and I'm not saying that anybody else needs to be, but I am, right? So yeah, I believe that there's something after this journey. But what if there's not? Yeah, right. The only thing that we all know for certain is we got this one shot. So hey, I'm 44 years old right now. So let's just say I'm blessed to live the average age of the average human being at 84 years old or 83 years old. Man, that means I got 39 years left. If I'm blessed, I got 39 years left on this planet. What must happen between now and those other 39 in this next 39 years, for me to be on my deathbed, to be able to run back the tapes. One of the blessings that I had, and getting this will kind of tie back to where I'm going right now, is in my early 20s, I did take a break. My dad sold his gyms. I got out of that. I started working at the local hospital. And I was a nurse's aide on the hospice floor for about 2 years of my life.
Mm.
And as a nurse's aide, like my job was to spend, 12-hour shifts comforting patients, and just, hanging out with them, spending time with, whatever it may be. Because, nurses and doctors are so busy and, they go and give a shot, then they got to go chart on it for 20 minutes for legalities. And so my job was just kind of hang out with the patients, right? And I developed a lot of, and because some people in hospice, they're in there for 2 minutes, some people are in there for months. I developed a lot of great relationships with a lot of those patients. And I don't know if it was because of my early 20s or because I developed a connection with them and I wasn't a friend or family member that they had to BS it with. They could just be upfront and honest with me. I had a lot of in-depth conversations, and not one patient ever was like, Josh, life was amazing. Life was epic. I'm ready for the next journey, where that journey may be. Every single one of them had a laundry list of shoulda, woulda, coulda regrets. So I always look at this of, okay, I don't want to have those things. I don't want to have those regrets, right? So when I'm on my deathbed and I'm replaying the tapes of what did I do with this one gift called life that God blessed me with, I don't want to have that shoulda, woulda, coulda, man, I pissed away this life, this regret list that 99% of humanity has. So it's like every single year when I'm going through my goal setting business plan, I go through a clarity process and I revisit this. So I put myself in that state of mind, laying on my deathbed. I can't, it's too late to go back and change. I can't change my relationships that I have with my kids or, the experiences that I had in this life, and I'm just looking at, okay, what have I had not done? What needs to improve so I can make sure to not have those regrets at that point in time where I can be like, hey, Maybe I didn't accomplish all my dreams, goals, and visions, but I wasn't a spectator. I got on the field, I played ball. I know I did everything I could to create, an amazing life and not piss away this one gift called life that, God's blessed us with. And then if I unpack that a little bit further, when you talk about fulfillment, and this is still something I'm still chasing. I don't know if we ever reach peak fulfillment, right? But look, and as simple as it sounds, it just works for me. I want to look in the mirror and be proud of the human being that I see. And not just from an aesthetic aspect, but like looking deep into my, like, hey man, like, have I become the husband I want to be? Have I become the father I want to be? Am I the friend that I want to be? The son that I want to be? Have I made the impact in business that I want to make? And the reason why I really love that target and why it's been powerful for me is it's a target with no finish line. At no point in time, like, can you not become a better father? Like, my kids now are 12, 16, and 17. Well, the father that they need today is a lot different than they did at 2 years old. Right? Then, okay, when they're getting married, when they're having kids, right? Okay, I need to show up. Then I want to be an amazing grandparent, right? And then there's a lot more I want to do in business too and impact lives there. So it's like, I don't know if there is a point in life where we can always, fully reach our potential because you hit a certain element and you're like, hey man, I'm capable more, right? So that's at least what works for me.
Definitely. I mean, things that you highlighted or talked about are super important in the sense like number one is to not chase others' dreams to think that they will become your dreams. Second thing is know really good because it's a one-way street. Time is a one-way street. There's no coming back. So, and it was like I was just imagining vividly about you playing all those tapes and thinking, okay, what should I have done? There's no woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
So the best time is for you to start implementing is right now, and then you're on the right track. I'm so thrilled that you just kind of dissected and analyzed it to gory detail and you're kind of implementing it. Honestly, otherwise there's no awareness, right? You're still going to continue and days are going to keep on ticking, days, weeks, months, etc. Super important.
Yep.
So one thing about fulfillment we talked about, what are any tangible goals that you want, what would be your life's mission that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, and so for me, I assess, okay, like what are the things that are most important to me in this life? Because I truly believe that we can accomplish the things that we want to accomplish in this life only if we are intentional in knowing what those are. It's like, hey, man, like for me, from my health and fitness journey, from going from, being in shape to losing my health and being morbidly obese to back in shape, you know, um, it's something I take very serious, right? So, and I know, and that just probably because I'm, an insecure human being, I don't know, right? But I don't really feel good about myself, like from a health perspective or aesthetic perspective, like unless I have a six pack, like right? So then from there, okay, if I want a six pack, but maybe I also want to go out there and drink and eat a bunch of fast food, right? Okay, those two things can't live in the same world. Right? Success doesn't come without sacrifice. But here's the cool part about it is you don't have to sacrifice the things that matter most to you, but you got to get clarity on what you want most. So I know, okay, my health and fitness, my family relationships, my most important relationships, and what I know everybody has different, belief systems, but whether it's your faith, belief system, spirituality, you know, um, I am a big believer on not trying to push religion on anybody, but I believe in that there's some power and there's something understand there's something bigger than you out there. Yeah, right. But whether that's important to somebody or not, but for me it is, right? But then from there, like, okay, like what are my business goals? So then for me, I would say like, okay, like what is my next target for my business? Because I always set very clear targets. So, right now I'm committed and I'm on a mission to build a 40,000 agent global real estate organization within the next 10 years. So that's, at least on the business realm of it, that's where my full focus is.
Mhm.
But I always look at, and this is why we talked about clarity earlier, but clarity is power. Clarity is so insanely important. People dismiss it all the time, but it's like, I don't know, you're going to go, you want to go and take a vacation, but you don't know what the destination is. Well, then how do you know what the roadmap is to get there? It's like you got to be extremely clear on where you want to be, where you're at. Then from there, it's very easy to reverse engineer the blueprint to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. It's the first thing I do with any real estate agents that are struggling is, okay, let's articulate this, man. Again, where are you at? Where is it that you want to go? right? Then from there, now that we can reverse architect those, strategy plans and a plan with precision, like we got to know every single day what we need to do to win to get to our goal. So my path to 40,000, like I know exactly what I need to do every single day, every single week, every single month, every single quarter, every single year for the next 10 years to hit that target. And I'm just late. And what I love about clarity too is it makes it very easy to know whether this is a hell yes or a hell no.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, there's a story out there. I don't know if it's true. I hope it's true because it's a cool story. But there was this reporter that saw Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Bill Gates Sr. all at the same table eating breakfast together. And he's like, well, I can't not walk up and say something to him, right? But he's like, but I know that I'm only going to have like a second. So I'm only going to be able to ask him one question, right? So he thought about what this question is. He's finishing up his breakfast, walks up to him, introduces himself, and he just asks him, hey, what is the most important thing when it comes to creating success? And they all have the exact same answer: focus. But then Warren Buffett followed that up with focus is in your ability to say no. So you got to know, okay, and this is where clarity comes in. Hey, here's the target that I want to hit. Every little micro decision that comes up in the day, is this getting one step closer to this? Yes or no? If it's a no, it's a hard no. If it's a yes, okay, then it's a yes. And again, for me, extreme clarity on health and fitness, my relationships, all these things. So it makes my day very simple. Right? Makes my day when I hear people like complain about there's just not enough time. No, I ask them how many hours are in a week? Well, I don't know. Well, how do you know if you have a lack of or an abundance of something when you don't know how much there is?
Mhm.
That's like saying, oh, I don't have enough money. Well, how much money do you have in your bank account? I don't know. Well, like we got to know it's 168 hours in a week. Well, Elon Musk has the same amount of hours that we do. How is he able to get so much more shit done? Yeah, I mean, he might be smarter and better at things, and he is, right, than all the rest of us. But he leverages his time. It's not about time management, it's about choice management. All the
Mhm.
choices that you're making up, throughout the day, and just all this is those choices day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour that compound over time that lead to where you're at. Like all of us right now are just an accumulation of compounding interest of every choice that we've made to this point in your life. Well, if your life isn't what you want it to be, okay, cool. Just make better choices. But the more clarity they have, now I know, is this the right choice or the wrong choice?
Definitely. If you are chasing, let alone two rabbits, if you chase multiple rabbits, you're not going to catch any. So clarity is super, super important. So
Yep.
you are at point A, looking at point B, and how do you get there? So you plan your day. It's absolutely phenomenal. And so as I'm thinking about you planning your day, because you are a huge giver and adding value to people, you set guardrails to make sure that the people who come in contact with you don't fail. Failure is not an option. That's how you look at things. From my conversation, my interactions with you, that is something that I've learned. So if you can share, because last year, what, 70, NAR statistics say 71% of agents have not closed one deal in the last year, which is kind of depressing. At the same time, there are people who are still fighting and getting business and making it big. So, to bridge the divide, what are a few tactical things that you could share if it's a new agent who's struggling, say, just started real estate up to 2 years, and then we'll just go to the different buckets?
Yep. So there's two primary reasons that real estate agents are struggling, in this given climate that we're in. Number one, they're not treating their business as a business. They're just winging it. And you can't do that. Like, okay, maybe 2012 to 2022, you could wing it because it was the longest bull market recorded history, longest real estate expansion recorded history, longest economic expansion recorded history. There's just so much, growth and so much real estate being sold. Yeah, you could kind of wing it and maybe go out there and make six figures. But that's done, gone, over with. We'll never probably see something like that again for the rest of our lifetimes. And at the end of the day, it's he or she that's the best operator that wins in this space. So when I say treat your business as a business, okay, know where you're at, where you want to go, like we talked about, then okay, what's the best strategy plan with precision to get you from where you're at to where you want to go? And when I say strategy plan with precision, like you got to know what you got to do to win every single day, every single week. If you show up to the office and you're like, oh, I'm going to work hard today, then you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do? You've already lost that day. You're winging it. Then from there, okay, now that we got our strategy plan with precision, now we got to plug in our processes, plug in our systems, and then eventually leverage, for people that are, want to continue to grow and scale over time. You know, um, but this is a strategy, skill set, system, process game. So that's kind of key piece number one. Number two is you have to play strategic offense in this market. You cannot play defense. You cannot wait for anything to come to you. So strategic offenses there's two words. Let's break down each of those. Strategic means you got to niche down right now. We're not targeting people that want to buy and sell. We need to make sure we're targeting people that need to buy and sell. I have conversations with so many real estate agents that are working hard, but they're broke right now and they're struggling because hard work doesn't necessarily, it's an ingredient. But look, I don't care how hard you're sprinting to chase the sunset. If you're sprinting east, you're not going to see it. Yeah, you got to run hard, but you got to make sure you're running in the right direction. Right? I'm generating all these leads, Josh, and I'm doing my calls every day, but nobody's motivated. There's always tire kickers. Like, you're targeting the wrong people. We're in the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen in the history of our country. So you've got about half the people that used to be able to partake in real estate that no longer can or no longer willing to. So now we need to be more laser focused where we're not shotgunning things out. We're operating like a sniper with a sniper scope on who has the highest probability of needing my services, right? Where's their urgency? Again, who needs to buy and sell? So an example, and I'll just use going after sellers listings as an example. Okay, like I'm right now very laser focused on the niches where there's the highest urgency. So probates, right? Okay, when people die, and this will be the biggest listing niche that we ever see. There's going to be 52 million listing opportunities over the next 2.5 decades just from this one niche, just statistically, mathematically of how this breaks down, because 50% of all residential real estate in the United States is owned by boomers and silent generation. And, okay, but then we know that 70% of family members that inherit estates, through probate don't keep them. They end up selling them off. Okay, there's urgency there. Right? Then from there, okay, people going through divorce. Number one reason for divorce, financial hardship. Most difficult time financially for anybody that's ever been alive today. This is the most difficult time financially for the masses that they've ever experienced. So divorce is in the massive uprise. Okay, probably them needing it to sell during this new life change very high. People at 30 days plus late on their mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have a 3% interest rate, but it's like every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go out to eat, like it's not just real estate. A lot of realtors make the mistake of thinking it's just about real estate. I'm like, dude, remove real estate from it. Like when I hear agents like, oh, as soon as interest rates go down, all these buyers are going to come. I'm like, dude, no. I mean, maybe I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's dude, I mean, we don't go to fast food a lot, but in certain situations, like kids soccer tournament, we only got 15 minutes to eat and we're on the road and, but I don't know, about 3-4 months ago, so I got 3 kids, my wife and I, it was like $80 for fast food. I mean, just like life has just gotten out of control, all this inflation, and which is what happens when your government prints 50% of every dollar to ever exist since the inception of the country in a 2-year period of time, creates inflation, if not hyperinflation, which is where it looks like we're headed. So okay, going after divorces. Then from there, okay, absentee owners in most markets, not all markets, but about 90% of markets, you got prices coming down, we got rents coming down, we got tenant evictions going up, we got hold costs going up, right? So for investors that own these properties that want to sell at or close to peak pricing before things get ugly, like they better do it now. Again, there's urgency there. So I'm targeting people. So I'm being very strategic on who I'm targeting that has the biggest opportunity to do business in this current climate that we're in. Then from their offense, okay, I'm doing things and only things where my fate is in my own control. So like when people hear me talk about probate or divorce, like, well, what do you go and get them with attorneys? If you want to do that, I mean, you can go do that. Just make that just where it's just a kind of a side hustle, icing on the cake. Yeah, right. No, I'm getting their contact data and I'm reaching out to them directly where it's like, okay, again, my fate is in my own hands. Not waiting for a damn thing to come to me right now. I'm going after it. So I can guarantee, man, if I do 500 dials, have 50 conversations, this week, I'm guaranteed to have a listing, right? So playing strategic offense, and the vast majority are just waiting for shit to land on their lap. And then you have those extreme cases, those agents that haven't sold a deal in a year. When I'm having a conversation with them, now these stats are kind of, I mean, they're all real, they're all legit. But, like real estate's the ultimate side hustle for most. It's only like 10% of this industry that's actually full time. Right? So then, okay, I mean, you got somebody in there that maybe just got their license just to get their license just in case, or, you know, so I don't know. We don't get the stats of, okay, of those that are full time, that this is a full time career, what is their production numbers versus those that are just part time. But I have this conversation quite frequently with agents that I'll talk to. They're like, man, dude, Josh, I haven't closed a deal in 6 months. I'm in trouble. Okay, then I unpack, well, what have you been doing? Okay, they've been sitting on their ass binging Netflix. I'm like, okay, is that a good business plan? No. I'm like, dude, if you did an open house every single day, 7 days a week, you even if you were the worst human being in the world at open houses, you're gonna sell really, like you're not gonna go 6 months without yeah, right. So there's an element too of like, gotta get off our ass and put in work.
It's pure numbers game as well as being laser focused on what is that you want to accomplish. Because I think we've all been through it, right? Chasing shiny objects. That syndrome exists, especially when you come into real estate. Like what all you catch on social media, all those title companies, everybody promises, and you're just kind of going here and there and without having direction. So that is crucial. So, and the nuggets you shared are really valid. So bolt it down, focus, and three niches that you said: divorces, probates, and
And
add some.
those are just
Yeah,
examples,
that's
right? Like, I mean, obviously, and you know this, Ravi, but I mean, we have so many agent partners that are like you name the niche, they're crushing it within it. Okay, let's just say it's YouTube and I want to create content, but again, they're very clear on who their ideal client is right now in this given market. They're creating, they're being very strategic and intentional with their content. They're releasing 2 videos every single week. They're very clear in their call to actions. So inbound strategies can also be us playing offense, right? We're just extremely strategic in putting in that work and playing offense with the target. So I was just using those as examples, but there's, man, I don't care. Everything works, nothing doesn't. Now some things are going to work better right now than other things, and better for different reasons. If I get an agent that's like, hey man, I need to close a deal in the next 90 days. Okay, well then, man, probably doesn't make sense for us to be focusing on Instagram and YouTube. Those are beasts. They're amazing. Some of the best lead gens, of sources I've ever seen. But we know that that's going to be consistent content creation, for about a year before we start seeing good, consistent business. So if somebody needs business like now, it's like, okay, it's got to be prospecting. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's got to be prospecting for new customers, not counting like past client sphere of influence. So open houses, cold calling, so there can be different scenarios of why we'd put different strategy plans together based on somebody's unique situations.
so if it's a newbie, say 0 to 2 years in real estate, it's like tactical things. Focus on your niche, narrow down, take proactive action, not be reactive for business to come and fall on your laps.
And I would just say one more thing if I can is, okay, for somebody that's been in the business, 0 to 2 years, I would invest every second that you possibly can in mastering new client acquisition. And that's your ability to get new customers. Right. But when and the reason why I say this is I meet so many that have been in this business 30 years that still haven't mastered this. And they figured out how to repeat the same mediocre year for 30 years straight, just enough to survive, but never able to go out there and thrive in this industry. If you want to thrive, the number one thing that you must master is new client acquisition. How can I generate more customers than I can personally handle? And when I say master it, like get a freaking world class at it. It's the one skill set that will serve you higher than all other skill sets. So 0 to 2 years, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you don't have any deal flow, you shouldn't be doing anything else other than at least, let's just say, during working hours, doing nothing other than generating new customers, right? But then after hours, okay, skills are developed after hours. Mastery happens when eyeballs are not on us. So it's like, okay, like for me, my first couple of years, it was just, okay, learning, all the, necessary skill sets for an effective conversation, how to pre-frame, tonality, body language, how to identify root core concerns to be able to unpack, concerns, aka objections, where I can unpack those, lead the process. I'd set up at my kitchen table by myself, pretend if there's, a couple on the other end, go through my listing presentation 3 times a day, my buyer consultation 3 times a day. So I got 1,000 reps in my buyer presentation, listing presentation in less than 12 months. So then by the end of my first year, I could go head to head with an agent that had been in my market for 20 years and kick their ass at a presentation, and win that business, even though they, have more years of experience, but they didn't have more reps in than me.
Hmm.
Right. So I just say, 0 to 2 years. I mean, first thing I do with any agent is I want to make sure they master new client acquisition, because if you don't master that, your whole career is going to be filled with pain.
Yeah, so that your pipeline is full, so that business, you're not chasing or running behind business. Business comes to you with a great job that you'll do for the clients that you've acquired with the word of mouth. And then
Yeah.
that's how you build your business. So I would actually love to have you talk about agents who've been in the business from 3 to 20 years and 20 years and beyond, doing the same thing that they did in year one, repeated over and over. Any words of wisdom that you have for them?
Yeah. It would just be, I mean, number one, just don't equate years to experience. I mean, in a 12-month period of time, I'll sell more real estate than most agents do in a career. My best personal month, not counting my team, my best personal month was 63 closings in 1 month. Right? So then you get to a point where it's, and that was something I had to learn early on, because you'd be intimidated by people that have been doing this 20, 30 years. And then quickly, you realize that that doesn't count as experience. It's like, what are the results that you're getting? So just because you've been in this business for a long time, don't get arrogant. Treat this as a newbie. Yeah, right. Like you're coming in this with a new, newbie lens. But then the same thing is, look, if you're having ups and downs, the roller coaster, if you don't have the ability to grow your business, you haven't mastered new client acquisition, right? So, okay, new client acquisition and then time management. Because the only way to have consistent growth in your business is taking the right daily and weekly consistent actions. So we got to develop the skills and the strategies, but then from there, we got to be able to control our time so we are proactive, not reactive, while we're consistently able to execute on those things. Because why do most experience, man, they have a great month and they have a bad 3 months and a great month, and it's this ups and down, feast and famine, is okay, they don't have any business. They start going after getting new customers. Then they get those new customers, and then they stop doing all the things that got them the new customers in the first place. They pop the deals with the new customers, and now they're having to reset and start over. So it's like, okay, you're the skill set to become a new client acquisition machine where you can generate more customers than you can handle. That's skill set number one. Skill set number two is managing your schedule and leading yourself to follow that schedule so you can have that consistency.
It's both prioritization as well as keeping your pipe filled and not focusing on one particular task while letting the pipe dry.
Yep.
That's what it is. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So you recently moved to EXP. What was the motivation? What got you here?
Yeah, yeah. So, after being in the business for 21 years, or 20, because I've been at EXP now for just, celebrating my year anniversary in January. So I've been here 13 months now. Was honestly the realization that, hey, this vehicle that I've been on, even though, yeah, I've had, I guess in industry eyes, a lot of success. Um, sold a lot of homes, made good money, have had a lot of success. I knew it wasn't going to get me to the where I want to go. Realize that this vehicle, again, like, I mean, real estate's great, but when it's transactional, right? Every month we got to restart over and restart over. You know, um, I want freedom. I want true time freedom, true financial freedom. The only way to have true time freedom and financial freedom is have true residual income. Now, if you want to, sell a ton of real estate, live way below your means, and go invest in real estate, and everybody probably should do those things too. But the best vehicle that I've seen now that I've been here is what EXP provides. One of the legs that they provide, rev share. So for me, like, I made this move because of rev share.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, EXP's got superior tool systems, technology, the best training. It's where the pros go to grow. So our average agent production is 3x industry average. All those things are amazing. But just being transparent, like, I came here because I want freedom for my family, for me. And I was just, again, doing what we talked about earlier. I spent a lot of time in solitude and, reflecting on things. And I'm like, did I do all the things that I want to do with my kids? Did I spend all the time that I really wanted to spend with them, do all the experience I really want to spend with them? Like, look, I would consider myself a good father, and did a lot of great things together. But if I'm being honest with myself, and we can BS this to the rest of the world, but this was just me being honest with myself. Did I do all the things I wanted? No. I'm like, okay, I've got a second chance here. I mean, I still, my kids are, 17, 16, 12. So I still have a little bit of time left before they're out doing their thing, but I'm like, second round is grandkids. And I refuse to screw this up a second time. Right. So I'm like, hey, I want to be in position by the time grandkids get here where I have true freedom, true financial freedom, true time freedom, where I can do what I want, when I want it, where I want it, to go take all the traveling trips. But then I can, because look, dude, our kids aren't going to necessarily, unless something dramatically changes, unless we go through another Great Depression and massive deflation on every single asset class and go through a decade of pain through deflation to kind of, recreate affordability in this country, our kids aren't going to have the same opportunities that we did.
Mhm.
So they may not be able to go take vacations. They may not, right? So I want to be in a financial position where it's like I can, take my whole family, all my kids, their spouses, the grandkids, like experiencing life, but with my grandkids, but have all the time that I want in the world with them. I'm like, I knew I needed a different vehicle. The
Okay.
vehicle I was on provided a good life, but not the great life. So that's what led me to joining EXP and really looking at I had awareness that EXP existed for 10 years. I
Mhm.
just never took it serious, never looked at it, until, I think the teacher appears when the student's ready. And sometimes, those pain points have to hit in life, or that self-discovery has to happen in life until, we're ready to see, for the teacher to appear. And so far it's, it's hasn't disappointed.
Okay, so it hasn't disappointed. So your move to EXP is something that you cherish, and you think that that's a vehicle that'll take you to where you want to go ultimately.
Yeah, it's the best vehicle I've ever seen. And people can take that, well, Josh, you're trying to recruit. No, like I'm not saying I'm just giving you my honest opinion. It's the best vehicle I've ever seen for real estate agents, no matter whether your only focus is production. Because I mean, if you look at this, I was doing the math, Ravi, and if I would have been at EXP from day one, just for my production, not counting rev share, I'd have almost $200 million in stock at this company.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So I mean, 71% of EXP, publicly traded company. So publicly, multi-billion-dollar market cap, publicly traded company, debt-free. 71% of this company is owned by us agents.
Hmm.
It's like every when we close our first deal, $200 worth of free stock. Every when we cap, $400 worth of free stock. If I sell 30 homes a year, I get my 16,000 cap back in stock. So every year for free, for doing what I'm already doing, I get 16,600 in free stock. Then doing the match program if you want to do that. But it's like, okay, the year I left, I was at Remax my first 10 years. The year I left there, I paid him $250,000.
Wow.
So, it's like in fees, just that one year, not counting my 10-year career, just that one year. Okay, at Remax or at EXP, I would have saved myself about $200,000. And I get superior tools, systems, technology, mentorship, support. I've never seen a vehicle like this. Where we get to keep more of our hard-earned working money. We get superior, again, systems, tools, support, coaching, mentorship, training. But then from there, we have the ability we're not just renting our business anymore. Like my broker owners always got rich off me. Yeah,
Hmm.
right. I didn't have a sellable asset.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess I could have tried to sell my team, but teams don't get big valuations, right? Now we all become equity owners. And then with rev share, anybody that ever joins because you're influence, instead of hiring recruiters, EXP gives that money back to us agents. Take 50% of the revenue that they collect, give it back to us agents, top line revenue via rev share, which then creates that residual income. Where if I go get hit by a semi today, I'm able to will my revenue share to my wife or to my kids. Right. So, and then this was Glenn's vision. Most real estate agents on this work till you die plan. We don't have pensions. We don't have 401ks. His vision was how do we create an off ramp where we can all win together? And he pulled it off, man. And I've never been so blessed and honored to be a part of a company. I mean, I love this company more than I loved my own companies when I built my own brokerage, right? So yeah, it hasn't disappointed. Now it's work, right? It's, like I'm focused, like I said, my mission is 40,000 global agent partners in 40 years. So as of right now, I'm in 8 countries, that I have agent partners in, brought in and partnered with 534 agents now in 16 or in 13 months. As the number one personal tracker of all of EXP for 2025 and will begin 2026. And, and yeah, it's been a lot of work, but I've never, so if you look at this, I was doing the math this the other day of what I'm now making residual income, 100% pure profit. I don't have any expenses on it, right, through rev share, because I'm able to leverage all the XP staff and everything else. It would take me about $8 million to invest free and clear in the stock market or free and clear for real estate of what now EXP is paying me in the form of rev share that I've been able to build in 13 months with $0 out of my pocket. That's taken time, but I'm like, what other vehicle can you do this, man? It's freaking been, I tell this to my wife all the time, but I'm like, I feel like I got the cure to cancer and I'm trying to get other agents, I'm trying to give them the cure and for free, but then they still have resistance, right? I cannot comprehend why everybody's not here. I just can't. And anybody that's watching and listening to this, like whether you want to partner with Ravi and I, like we'd love to partner with you. We'll support you. We will do everything we can to pour into you, but if you decide that somebody else, if it would just get at this company, I just think everybody, I can't, I just can't fathom why everybody isn't here.
Definitely, Joshua, you hit on the main crucial points that people need to think about their future and creating a residual income. It's not like people are going to leave production and then go and purely recruit. If you want to just be in production, be in production. But this company offers you a vehicle if you want to retire rich and see abundance, and plus help everybody else grow, which is amazing. So this kind of, talking about revenue share, can you briefly shed how you think about co-sponsorship? This is like really phenomenal, and you happen to be a co-sponsor of mine.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts on co-sponsorship and why should people take it seriously?
Yeah, I wished it existed when I joined. When I joined, you had to pick one sponsor. Now, and for anybody that's watching or listening to this, how EXP works is okay, yeah, EXP is the brokerage. Then from there, because we don't have recruiters, you can pick and choose a sponsor. And that sponsor can offer additional, coaching support value in addition to all the amazing things that EXP provides. And EXP provides so much. I mean, once in a while I'll get agents that reach out to me that aren't succeeding and they want to blame it on their sponsor. But I'm like, if you remove the sponsor from it, if you can't succeed at an extremely high level with everything EXP provides, like there's other problems, right? You're just trying to, but then from there, whatever sponsor that you choose can greatly impact your experience. Like for example, anybody that's watching or listening to this, if you were to, name Ravi as your sponsor, not only do you get Ravi support and all EXP's 2,500, support staff and all EXP stuff, you get also on top of that, all, Ravi's personal support. But then from there, you get access to all my coaching, training, mentorship support. Our business partner, Mike Sherrard's, coaching, mentorship, training support is the best hands down in the world at, social media, YouTube and AI and growing real estate business through there. So it just creates this ecosystem. Like our obsession is to make sure none of our real estate agent partners ever have to hire a coach. Because the way that I visualize this is, okay, EXP is the brokerage, we're your coaches and mentors. Because one of the most difficult things of this industry is, okay, you go through real estate school, you quickly realize that they don't teach you anything about how to create success. They're just teaching you how to keep your butt out of jail, right? Then from there, you think, oh, I'm going to go join the brokerage. And then the brokerage is going to teach me these things. Then we quickly realize that the brokerage is in place. This is how this industry is structured to protect the general public. They're actually not there for us, right? So then from there, like I always joke and say, and it's not a joke, it's sad, but when we get our real estate license, it should come with a plaque that says, congratulations, now go figure this out. So very quickly you identify that's all on your own. Like I was saying earlier, the year I left Remax, paid, $250,000 in fees. I also had to pay, paid over six figures that year in hiring outside coaches. And I always thought it was ridiculous. I've spent over $1 million on coaches throughout my career. But it's like, I got to pay my brokerage all this money. Why do I got to pay all these coaches all this money? So our obsession is to make sure that we have the most well-rounded coaching, training, mentorship, where there's not an agent partner alive that would partner with us that doesn't know exactly what to do, when to do it, why to do it, how to do it. If they don't succeed, it's just because they chose to not plug in and do the work, because nobody can execute for us other than ourselves. But when I joined, okay, you don't pick one sponsor. Now we have co-sponsorship, which I think is one of the, other than creating the overall model, I think that this is the second best thing that they did, because it gives you the ability to have two parents versus one.
Right.
So like, let's just say somebody's like, oh man, Robbie, I want to join with you because, all your support, Josh's support, Mike Sherrard's, like, I want all of this coaching. But then maybe they're in, I don't know, Iowa and they're new. And they're like, but I also would really like to have a local, successful EXP agent to that could help me locally. Well, now you can add Robbie as your sponsor, add that agent as your co-sponsor. right? And how this works. And this is a little complicated, but they then leave their upline to slide under, Ravi. So then, and then the agent would go under them. So that co-sponsor is getting full rev share. Ravi's getting like we're all getting full. So we also have the same big financially vested interest in your success. And yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Such a smart move that EXP did this.
Chiming in, it's the monetary aspect is one about sharing revenue share, but what they get in return. State-of-the-art artificial intelligence tools, agent attraction if you want, all this for free. And your systems like lead gen, lead follow, scaling, you're begin to scale, building
Yep.
teams, mindset, everything. You will have more training bombarding you that you can consume, but it's all strategically placed and important pieces of training to help you succeed in business. You meaning any agent that partners with us, and they get all this for free. And we are like this closely knit community with collaboration, support, mentorship, training, and the whole nine yards. So you'll actually, as I said, we have set guardrails, and it's hard for you. You have to desperately try to fail in this business if you partner with us. That's how I look at it. There's so much abundance, and people are willing to genuinely care and contribute to your success, which is what I found with this organization.
And just hitting on one last point, because I know when I was talking about my focus, look, my focus, I am not the norm. Like meaning that, okay, 88% of real estate agents that join EXP, they don't care about the whole rev share piece. They are here solely to become top producers. And
Right.
EXP's done the best job by a far margin, at that, meaning we outsell all other real estate companies by a far margin. Like our closest second competitor sells 100,000 lesser units than us. Our per average agent productivity is 3x, pretty much any of our competitors, right? Industry average. So EXP's done a brilliant job at attracting the top, and then helping those become top producers. If you look at like our biggest kind of cloud-based competitor, our top 250 agents at our company sells more than all 25,000 plus of their agents combined.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always tell agents that rev share is the most powerful thing, whether you want to be involved in it or not, because this is what allows us to open all of our playbooks and do everything that we can to make sure that you accomplish your real estate goals. So even if you never want to go out there and recruit agents and get that residual income, rev share is still the most powerful part because again, it's what allows this. I mean, I've never been with a company where everybody opens their playbooks. Everybody takes the time to, spend, with you to make sure that you know exactly what to do, when to do it, where to do it, how to do it, eliminate the guesswork. So if you want to go out there and make $1 million a year on TikTok, okay, let's have a conversation with our agents over here that have done that and proven that. You want to scale a large team, okay, hey, look, here's everything I've ever done. Not, just here's, here, let me give you some advice. It's, here's step by step everything, giving you all the process. It's never seen anything like this, because again, it's just structured. I know that our tagline is where the pros go to grow, which is true. And I like that tagline, but I always refer to this as the everyone wins model.
Exactly. Absolutely. Bingo, right? So the people within EXP are incentivized to see you succeed, right? That's why they are opening their playbooks because of
Yep.
this revenue share component, which is kind of makes the model become more cohesive, if you
Yeah.
will.
And the
So,
stock,
yeah,
right? Like I help agents all the time that aren't part of our organization. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, I mean, I would love everybody to be part of our organization so we get rev share off of them, but I want to see everybody win.
you're right.
So like, any 90,000 of our agents at EXP, because we're the largest, independently held brokerage in the world, I mean, I have almost a call a day from other EXP agents that I'm not getting rev share off of, but that reach out for some help. And I'm honored to help them because I want to see everybody to grow. And selfishly, and part of that's my personality, but then also on the selfish standpoint, it's like, I want the more this whole company grows, the more my stock grows,
Right.
right? Like we're all also equity owners in the company.
Yeah, you have more skin in the game to see the company succeed.
Yeah.
So, for anybody watching this video, and if you want to know how to do this with Josh's support and my support, all for free, and take your business to the next level, feel free to book into my calendar. The calendar link is in the description below. I've included both Josh's information as well as my information. There are no gimmicks, no sales pitches, no pushy salesy stuff. You'll leave that meeting with tons of information, and then you can decide which is going to be right for your career path. I just cannot be more thankful to you, Josh, for your time today, for you sharing your personal journey, why you're motivated to help others succeed, and what it means to be effectively partnering with EXP and us. Before we kind of conclude, any parting thoughts that you have in your mind that you want to share?
Yeah, I would just say that, for anybody watching, this, which obviously if you hear right now, you're watching this, and I kind of alluded to this earlier in the podcast, but look, this is such a life-changing, game-changing industry, but you got to fully commit. And I would just encourage you to fully commit, go all in, because I can promise you, it will pay off. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to go through pain. Man, you are. Like I said earlier, man, I've made it. I've lost it. I've made it. I've went through so, I mean, I've been in my corner of my office, has to have it, maybe even dozens of times, ready to throw in the towel, on verge of tears. I mean, we're all going to experience our challenges. I've never met anybody that's created a lot of success that didn't have to go through their own intense personal, shit storms, if you will. But I can promise you it's worth it. This is the best vehicle that exists in the industry. I'm sorry, the best vehicle that exists that I've ever found on the planet. And I've been involved in, 13 different, businesses, industries out there, and never seen a vehicle like this. Yeah, you're gonna have to put in the work, but again, it's worth it. So I just encourage everybody, whatever pain that you're going through, just push through, never give up, and eventually, I promise you, if you do that, it will pay off, and you'll be glad that you did it.
Thank you so much, Josh. We totally appreciate your time and thanks for spending it with us and then sowing in the seeds of prosperity in us. You
Yeah,
make it an awesome one. Yeah, we'll connect
yeah,
soon. Okay,
it
thank
was
you.
an honor, my friend. Thank you.
All right, bye.